This time you'll notice that it's not rigged, because we have a top 3 which is very different from the editorial, but maybe we find a middle way about it. Actually, my top 3 this month is about a problem we're seeing in the world right now. We have this problem with energy, and everything becomes expensive. Energy becomes expensive, and we're looking at ways to find other sources of energy and being maybe greener in the approach, find alternative sources. That's one thing. And on the other end of that spectrum, we have the carbon topic, which is still somewhere in our minds. We have to reduce our carbon impact. Yeah, the world focuses on taking less planes, and every time you take a plane, you're like, oh, I'm guilty because I take a plane. And nobody looks at the water industry so far, but I'm repeating that now for a while. At some point, they will come for us, and the day they come for us, we better be ready. So we have these two elements of energy and carbon. And if you remember, one of my first top 3s was about new ways to desalinate water, and it was giving things which might be in the future, like microbial desalination
waves and things like that.
And that is like prospective, really cool, but that's in the future. Today, my top 3 is about 3 proven solutions to have more of an energy efficiency in our plants and to be more self-sustaining and reducing carbon. And that has a lot to do with the wastewater treatment, and that has a lot to do with the way we do biogas out of this wastewater treatment. My number 3 actually is simply start doing biogas. Because if you look at the numbers, you mentioned the SDG 6 in your editorial. In terms of full coverage in wastewater treatment, we are still not at the level we should be. Today, 56% of the wastewater in the world is treated. So that's already 44% of the wastewater which is simply not treated. But among these 56% of wastewater which is treated, only 15% have a stage of biogas production, so anaerobic digestion. So that means 15% of 56%, which is about 8 or 9%. So that is the level of equipment we have right now, which is pretty low.
So you're saying every wastewater treatment plant should have a biogas treatment?
At least every wastewater treatment plant of a certain relevant size. I've been discussing with companies which claim that that relevant size doesn't really exist, that you could have efficient digestion from really 500 population equivalent, but that again is quite prospective. Let's say we focus on all the 20,000 population equivalent and higher. All of those, arguably, it is economic today to have a digestion step. And not all of them have it. That's one thing. Not all of them have primary decantation either, which is also a way to have better sludge, which makes more biogas. So really, I do believe all the ones which have this relevant size, from the get-go when they're built, when we equip them, they should have a digestion step. And it's not going to cover 100% of their energy needs, but it's better than nothing. And all that methane or biogas which gets produced in that stage is so much less, which gets like evaporated to the atmosphere, which is first a stupid waste of energy, but it's also a big burden on the environment because methane has this 28 times higher greenhouse gas effect than CO2. So yes, I would say that we need to have this biogas, biomethane production step in every wastewater treatment plant.
I would say there would be a lot of many engineers would disagree with you because it doesn't make sense all the time, because it's always on, let's say, what is the COD level, what is the BOD ratio, and so on and so on. That is where it comes to the technical thing. Then you must overcome this level. Otherwise, from the technical perspective, it doesn't make any sense. And furthermore, you have to think about, for instance, hardness. Hardness is a huge topic for a biodigester. If your water is too hard, I mean, you can handle that, technically speaking. But let's say if you go into that, you have to have a solution for that as well. So it's a lot of capex you just have to spend also. I mean, to put a basin and aerate that is pretty simple and easy. For sure, you have the OPEX, but let's say from the capex perspective, it is high intensive cost to do so.
You want to tell me that the 85% of the existing wastewater treatment plant who don't have anaerobic digestion is only because of hardness and...
No. I'm just saying from the technical perspective. I'm just speaking about the technical perspective. You should consider that as well. Not every COD BOD ratio makes sense for biogas treatment. That is nonsense. But you can, for sure, there are many more. You cannot have 85%. You cannot equip them all. That is totally bullshit.
We can.
But you can have more.
We can.
Out you have now.
Totally
no,
can.
It doesn't make any sense. If your ratio is too low, then it doesn't make sense.
You can, and that's why it's a top 3 and not the top 1. Because my number 2 is whenever you have a sludge which is hard to digest or which you want to increase the yield, I mean, we should always go for these treatments like hydrolysis, thermal hydrolysis, or ultrasonic hydrolysis. I mean, to really ease up that digestion. And that is available. That is available for decades now. Cambie has opened the way, but you have also Tomorrow Water, which is doing the same. You have also Veolia, who had a subdivision doing that. And in my now a bit older times, as I mentioned that wastewater treatment plant I was working on, my last internship was about having ultrasonic hydrolysis of sludge. It didn't work. Don't do it with ultrasounds. It's not the best way. But if you do thermal hydrolysis, that works absolutely like a charm. And that means you can have a much higher yield for your biogas treatment, which makes a lot of sense. It's all about return on investment. You're right. It's more capex. But I'm absolutely sure there's a return on investment. It's just not my conviction. It's the facts who show it. And if your sludge is hard to digest, or if you're absolutely right, there's some technical limitations to the way your water is set up, and you have really a very, very hard COD ratio compared to the BOD, but that means you're really on an industrial site, which is very specific. Still, you can have these processes which bring a bit more life into your sludge, and which is starting this digestion a bit earlier and making it more efficient.
Okay.
Hey, what's your counter argument to that?
My counter argument to that is, I mean, you're talking all the time about sludge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know that there was in Noval a couple of years ago in Germany. Do you have to treat, let's say that you have to process the sludge in a separate way?
I don't know, because you mentioned it one show out of two.
Never ever. I never mentioned that. But the point is, the only technology, how they treated sludge, is not that they pre-treat it and then they give it to the digester. No, everything goes to a furnace. It's incinerated. And even the incinerator can create some energy out of that. So what you're saying is that we should have decentralized solution. We should have every wastewater treatment plant should have its own biogas treatment plant. And if the sludge is not able, then we should have some kind of hydrothermal process upfront instead of going to a centralized solution. Is that what you're saying?
Not fully. I'm saying that every single sludge should be transformed into biogas. It doesn't have to be all the time directly on site. It's just that for the sake of transportation, it might be difficult to concentrate everything in a central place. But still, you should have, because you're mentioning incineration. And yeah, when you burn something, you take something out. But come on. Sludge out of a treatment plant. If you take it from the dewatering step, it's 1.5% sludge and 98.5% water. And spoiler, water doesn't burn that well. Okay, you're going to filter press everything, you go out with a 6CT of maybe 23, 24%, which is still 76% water, and water still doesn't burn that well. So then what do you do? You go to thermal drying, then you do a double drying, and you get these very nice pellets which you can burn. And how many energy did you spend in creating those pellets?
But then you have proven the entire German market totally wrong. Because everything from now on will go to more or less, not everything, but let's say more or less everything will go really to incineration.
Not everything, first, because Germany has a lot of primary decantation.
That's what I'm saying. But let's say in future...
And why Germany all the time? It's not because Germans do weird stuff that we all have to do weird stuff as well.
No, I'm just saying, okay, if you want to have a decentralized solution, you want to have hydrothermal analysis, or let's say a process upfront, and then you want to have a biogas even on a 5,000 PE plant.
I said 20,000 plus.
Okay.
Because you have right now people in the water industry who say that they can be really efficient from
makes no sense. Even 20,000 PE means that. No,
sense.
Then you have to have a centralized one.
No.
That makes even more sense.
No.
That makes more sense.
Okay.
Because you know scale effect.
Yeah.
That is all about. So if you have 10 or 20 in one region, and everyone has to have a kind of biogas production, it doesn't make any sense. Then you go to the next step, and that's what happened, for instance, right now with all the sludge when it goes to the incineration. They don't build 200 or 500 or 1,000 new incineration for the sludge. No, what they do, they have centers. They have 40 approved plants all over Germany where this goes to,
and
that is a kind of decentralized approach, because it doesn't make any sense that every wastewater treatment plant has to have this thing.
Okay, so it makes much more sense to have all these wastewater treatment plants filling up trucks, which then drive on the roads and go to. I mean, you want to truck sludge around. That's a better solution for you.
Much more economical. Much more, doesn't make any sense to build on each and every plant a biogas treatment.
That's because you're not looking at the right way to have the scale effect, and that's my number one. The right way to have the right scale effect is who said that the wastewater treatment plant only has to deal with its sludge. Right now, you already have all the sludge, which is then mixed most of the time with the greases that you can collect around. But why stop at the greases? You have so much of the waste, not waste water, so much of the waste which is organic. And if we were able to tap into that organic waste, then you can do the right mixture of solving the waste problem the same time that you solve the wastewater problem, and you bring everything on the central wastewater treatment plant, and the wastewater treatment plant also becomes the way to source this organic sludge which comes from the waste.
Are you now shifting from decentralized to centralized?
No, it's still, I mean, you call it decentralized because you want always to put things in buckets. I'm saying the wastewater treatment plant stay as they are. They have a digester which you built on it. And now when you're collecting the waste across the city, you bring that waste, when it's organic, also to the wastewater treatment plant. And then you co-digest it with your sludge. And if you do so, you create much more biogas.
What kind of waste you're talking about?
Household waste, like what you put in your trash bin at home.
So what goes now into incineration? I should bring it to the, but then why not bringing the sludge to the incineration, which is already there? Is the other way around? Because
incineration is not as efficient as creating biogas. Biogas enables you to be like, to extract the most value out of that waste and wastewater, which is proven, which is what Energia does. And basically you have one digester, you take their Rialto facility in California, you have the digester as it is, you mix it with, I mean, they have some pre-treatment steps, but you mix it with the waste from the communities around, and you triple up the output with the same house, same building, same concrete. You have 3 times more output in terms of gas. And the beauty of that is that nobody wants to have a methanation in their background. It's really the NIMBY, not in my backyard. When I came here driving, I crossed a couple of small cities where they have the big panels saying,
it was in the middle of the night. I don't know how you have seen that.
But still, they don't want, and why don't they want that? Because it's smelly and it's a new thing. I have a scoop here and a big spoiler. Wastewater is already smelly. So people know that there's a wastewater treatment plant.
No. If wastewater smells, then something is wrong with the biology. That is what you learned in study, right?
All the wastewater treatment plants. Come on, Björn. It always smells a
but
bit.
It is
and
not
it's
really.
Always somewhere outside of the city.
If it is really smelling, then something is wrong.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Now you're saying that wastewater doesn't smell.
No, I'm just saying it.
If you want to debate that, okay, we can, but that's nonsense.
But it's not really smelling. If it really smells, yes, it has a smell, but it's not smelling. Call it this way.
What I'm saying is that we have these existing facilities, we have these existing departments. Like in a municipality, you would have the wastewater people, and you have the waste people, and they don't talk together. Bring them together and produce biogas.
But right now, we have the facilities to take the organic waste from the households, at least to make something out of that.
Make what? Compost?
Exactly. They compost most
which is not that efficient, which releases a lot of methane to the atmosphere. So that's one thing. Or you bring it to a landfill, which happens in many cases and in many regulations happening right now, that regulation says, hey, stop, you stop with that. You better find another solution, but you stop with that. And that other solution is simple. You have these wastewater treatment plants, bring it to the digesters, do biogas out of it. And now your wastewater treatment plant is a decentralized power factory. It's creating small amounts, but it contributes.
For me, it's a thin ice here, right? To argument, because I don't want to say something wrong, but I'm pretty sure there are people out there, experts, who can prove you wrong. That doesn't work. You cannot.
Come to me. If you want to prove, come to me.
You cannot take. You cannot take just the organic waste from the households and put it into. No, it doesn't work.
You need a pre-treatment, but that's what Energia does.
Okay. So
that's why Andrew Benedict came out of his retirement and said, I can do something for this planet. And it works. It's proven to work.
Andrew Benedict was just bored, sitting at home
maybe.
with all the money.
Maybe, but still, it works.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm citing Energia because I know the case, but they're not the only one. Like I cited Camby, but they're not the only ones. What I'm saying is that what I presented last time was highly promising, and I would love for it to work, but it was prospective and someone in the future. What I'm saying here with these top 3 today is that we have an energy problem, we have a carbon problem, and we need to look for solutions. And guess what? Those solutions exist, and they can be implemented today. And maybe we find in 10 years that there's an even better solution, and then great, we upgrade to that even better solution. But we have a low-hanging fruit right there. Right there, just grab it and leverage it.
I can't believe that this really works and will be the future. But as I said, for me, it's an ice before saying something wrong here. I would leave it like it is.
Okay,
even if I would love to go against that, but let's say it is
Björn
too hard for me to judge.
And that's fine because I'm just presenting words. I don't have hard facts. You see, I don't have a study right here to show him. So it's fine. I get that you don't need to believe me. So if there are experts out there, come and tell him he's wrong.
I will find some numbers.
Yeah, come
and
on,
I will shoot it at you.
If you have those numbers, we do a specific show around that, and we speak about exactly what we said in your editorial. Let's stop saying there are problems. Let's talk about solutions. Let's bring those solutions on the table and say, hey, this works with those limitations, maybe, but still it works. Why don't we do it? Deal?
Okay, deal.
Deal.